I was this big. On January 22nd, 1994, I was this long, weighing in at 3 pounds, 3 ounces, after being delivered 3 months early. After being put in an incubator and hooked up to tubes and wires, I looked sick, fragile, and weak. That's what the doctors and others who saw me began to describe me as: fragile, sick, and weak. But they all seemed to have forgotten one thing in the moment: the strength and the power of the God who held me, and that God's strength is seen when we are at our weakest points. This is not my story. It's my small part in God's big story. I just get to tell it. I went home for the first time on February 22nd. My first-time parents were thrilled, and I was okay. We made it. From that day on, I developed normally. After hitting all the milestones at the appropriate times, I even gained a friend when my brother was born the year after. Life was good for our little family of 4. My second birthday came and went. Wally grew increasingly more active and started to pull himself up and begin to walk. But not me. I hadn't taken any steps yet. And after a few visits to the doctor, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, or CP for short. The doctor said that I would never walk. My parents had so many hopes and dreams for me, their firstborn and only daughter. Some of those dreams and expectations changed that day. But not God's. He didn't change. He was working there. We just didn't know how. So many questions and so little answers. From that day on, I always knew when people talked about me. The conversations were the same day after day. She has CP, she can't do that. She has CP, that'll be hard for her. Or, she has CP, how is that going to be possible? Well, they were right about me. All those doctors and all the professionals, they were right. CP limited so many of my abilities, but not God's. They forgot. For with Him, anything is possible. About 6 months later, I began walking, and I never stopped. After years of physical therapy and wearing leg braces and casts, my strength increased, my abilities increased, and my hope increased. My family began to go to church again after the passing of my grandpa. I was 6 years old, and I loved that church. There I found the source of my hope in Christ. We made a good team, me and God. He could make beautiful things out of my brokenness. Besides church, I began attending public school, and I kept up with other kids my age mentally, although physically I was still a little behind. My parents and now 3 younger brothers always encouraged me to persevere and set my goals high. Because of them, I had much confidence when things got tough. Sure, kids would make fun of the way I walked or the braces I wore, but I had my family and my friends to encourage me through it all. Here at school, I joined choir and I began to sing outside of church. I loved to sing. Just by hearing my voice, people didn't see CP. They only saw me. Through high school, I kept singing, and I also played on the softball team through my freshman year, until by my sophomore year I had new ambitions and tried out for the cheerleading team. Not only did I make the team, but I became a flyer. God provided for me in that He put me on a team of such supportive and encouraging girls, and coaches that pushed me to be my best. By my junior year of high school at Chicago Christian, our team made it all the way to state and went home with a 2nd place trophy. My junior year, I also got baptized at church, and I realized the real power of God's love, grace, and forgiveness. I began to know God more fully and experience His strong presence. CP began to take on a new meaning around that time in my life. No longer did I think cerebral palsy, but primarily CP became an abbreviation for Christ's presence. By my senior year, I looked forward to how God would use me and the people around me next. Contrary to what was believed when I was in that incubator years ago, there I was, making plans for college, and that's where I am now. Actually, I'm almost done. At Trinity Christian College, God continued to reveal Himself to me through the people that I met and the places that I went, and the opportunities that He provided me. I continue to lead worship at Trinity, and I get involved with other leadership teams on campus like women's ministry. I continue learning more about God each day, and I was able to see the beauty of His wider creation at a recent trip to Spain. Now I look forward to soon having a degree in psychology with the hopes of counseling people with physical and mental disabilities. As for the future, who knows? Maybe grad school, maybe some more traveling. It's all in God's hands, right where it began. No matter what may come, I know that Christ will be present with me. He never leaves me, and He'll always be in control. Through the past 21 years, my circumstances were always changing, but my God was and still is constant. Now I go forward with hope, sure of His promises to keep me in His hands. I want you to know that you are in those same hands, and you can have that same hope. After all, if Christ could do all of that with me, just imagine what He wants to do with you. What part will you play in His grand story?
Come on to Daddy. Daddy give you a prize. Come on to Daddy.